Welcome to Massage and Myotherapy Connect, a brand new innovation Massage and Myotherapy Australia is producing. The goal of the monthly episodes is to provide therapists in the industry with news, tips and techniques with industry leaders. We hope you enjoy Massage and Myotherapy Connect. Feedback is much appreciated, so please leave a comment below. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve from Rock Tape. We're going to show you how to tape for ankle pain. Typically the ankle will be painful on the outside, so we're going to apply the tape with the ankle on stretch. We're going to run a piece of tape across the front of the ankle, loop around and then run up the side of the leg. So measure the tape like that. We're going to round off the corners of the tape so they don't get caught on clothing or towels or anything like that. We're going to tear through the backing paper. So the first part of the tape has no stretch. We put the ankle on stretch, start at the back of the ankle bone, a little bit of stretch on the tape as we come across the front of the ankle, we run around the bottom of the foot, and with the same piece of tape, then we're back on stretch there, we're running up along the side of the leg, and then no stretch on the end of the tape there at all. Give the tape a little bit of a rub to make sure it sticks, and then when the foot comes back to neutral, we're taking the pressure off this area where it was painful.
So goes back quite a long way, really. I went to a naturopath when I was in my late teens, and that got me interested in natural therapies, and was quite interested in the way food affects our health generally. Then when I was travelling overseas, I started to investigate other forms of natural therapies, and then I started receiving some body work and shiatsu, some massage, and it had quite a profound effect on me and the way I felt in my body. So then when I came back to Australia, I started looking at some training in that area. So that was probably just over 20 years ago. So I started training as a shiatsu therapist first up, then progressed into remedial massage, and I've added a number of different therapies onto that since then, like craniosacral therapy, myofascial dry needling. So I became involved in the board of AAMT, as it was known then, through a mentoring program to start with. So Atul Robinson was quite inspiring, really, and wanted to create a mentoring program for therapists. And that really resonated with me because in the early days of my massage therapy career, I found a mentor, and it was really positive experience. So I got to meet some of the staff members and board directors through that. And then once I realised the passion and the drive that this organisation had, I knew I wanted to be part of that. So about 9 years ago, I was voted onto the board for the SA branch back then, as it was known. For the future of the industry, I think there's probably a few changes that might occur. As we already can see, there's quite a lot that changes quite quickly in the education side of things. So that's going to have a major impact on our industry, I think. We might not know what all of those changes will be yet. But I'm quite excited that the association and where it's come to, the professionalism of the industry is improving. The certification program is really exciting. So I think generally there's going to be more and more general acceptance in the mainstream and allied health sectors for our industry, which is a positive thing for the members of the public. I think one of the biggest moments for me in the last 8 years of being on the board was last year in Hobart at the conference, launching the new brand, the new logo and the certification scheme I was really excited about that because I've been really passionate about finding the right level of regulation for our industry that suits us. And I think we're really on the right track with that. So it was really exciting to take something new to the members. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that rolls out in the next few years.
I'm Steve Stahl, I'm a physio. I work down in Geelong. I've been a physio for about 20 years. Work at the Carrie Bay Health Group, so I own and manage one of the clinics within that clinic group in Geelong, which is a fairly general sort of practice. So I see all sorts of people from paediatrics to geriatrics and everything in between. And yeah, came across rock tape probably around about 2009, 2010. I'd been using kinesiology tape for a little while, liked the concept of it being a stretchy sort of tape that didn't restrict people too much, and then was sent some rock tape as a sample to try. One of my brothers, Tony, is involved in rock tape in Perth, and he and Darren are the other directors. They were bringing some samples back from the US and sent them to me, being the physio of the group, and said, try these out and see what you think. So thought it was a really good product, so we launched from there. So that started in 2010, and yeah, 7 years later we're still going on. So yeah, I did my sports physio masters about 5 years ago as well, so I was in the midst of doing all that when we launched as well, so that was an interesting time, busy, so yeah. Traditionally, the rigid tape is pretty much all we had for taping options, and that's great in an acute injury when you really want to restrict somebody, but it's not that great when we want to promote movement. So that's where the rock tape comes in, being a stretchier alternative. So the rigid tape may be used in the initial phase of an injury, or if someone, what we say, has a hardware problem, if they have a ligamentous instability or something that really needs support, where most of the problems we see are more neurological in terms of something's overactive, something's underactive, we need a little bit of sense of support, a bit of control, a bit of cueing, but we still want movement, and that's where rock tape can be a great alternative to the traditional tapes. It's certainly becoming more popular. There'd still be a lot of skeptics amongst the manual therapists as to whether kinesiology tape does all the things that traditionally it was thought to do, and in a lot of ways rock tape doesn't really subscribe to some of those theories, and we're sort of pressing ahead more on the pain science stuff that we know, and we know that touch and inputs through the skin are really important in modifying people's pain and getting them to move better, cueing different postures and techniques. So our approach is really based around more modern pain science principles, and therefore it's going to grow in popularity when we stop talking about some of the other things that it was claimed to do but really haven't been proven scientifically. So we're trying to focus on that side of things, which is certainly where manual therapy generally is heading, really understanding the pain science principles. So I think as people take on board those principles, it's more likely to grow and be accepted as a viable option for extending your manual therapy techniques for a longer period for the patient. Yeah, rock tape's being used by a wide variety of practitioners, and that makes our courses really interesting from a teaching perspective as well as for the attendees, because it's not very often that we have a room where we have physios, chiros, osteos, massage therapists, sometimes sports trainers, myotherapists, occupational therapists. There's a whole variety of people that attend the courses, which is quite unique because normally people stick with their own profession when they're doing PD type events. So it's really nice to have that cross-pollination and share ideas, and I think break some boundaries down, because people believe that certain things about other professions, and when they start talking to them, they realise that we're all talking the same language, ultimately, just slightly different terminology at times, but we've all got the same interests at heart. So we do get a wide scope of people attend the courses and use rock tape, and that, yeah, it makes it really interesting for us. Yeah, probably the most popular would be typically low back and neck type applications, because that's, as practitioners, we see so much of with the modern society and computers and driving and so much seated based work. And then obviously shoulders, knees are quite popular as well. We can use rock tape to facilitate better posture, so that's quite an interesting one through the upper back, and typically, but anywhere really, to try and cue better posture, to try and prevent the same issues returning. So it's really an adjunct to any kind of treatment. If whatever area somebody's treating, then we can use that taping to try and prolong the effects of the treatment for a bit longer than what would normally happen. So rock tape have a number of courses. So we have half-day courses, so that can be good for people who are busy or just want to have an introduction to the taping concepts and the way that we teach it. So we have half-day, we have full-day courses. We also run advanced courses as well, so once people have gotten started and want a little bit more information about different techniques and different possibilities. There's plenty of online material as well, YouTube videos and the like, that are freely available through the website. So people can also look at those and get a taste of what it's all about. But like any practical skill, there's nothing like actual hands-on practice. So most people find once they attend a course, it's a fairly simple concept that they can go back to the clinic on the Monday and get started with taping straight away. So there's lots of colours and patterns available in rock tape. They are all the same. They're not like resistance bands where the different colours and patterns might mean something. So essentially it's all the same. It's just different personality types like different things. So the most popular tape is still beige, which is pretty boring, but I guess people like to blend in on the most part. But certainly the recent editions of rainbow, and we've got a Myotherapy tape, which is like a sugar skulls tape, that's quite popular, and also a pink lightning one's relatively new and popular as well. So we also have recently had a Goanna design, which is an Indigenous painting that was done by an Indigenous artist in Queensland. His little boy has a developmental condition, and his therapist was taping him with rock tape, and he thought it'd be a fantastic addition to put some Aboriginal art on. So that's something that we've launched this year as well, which has been very popular. Rocktape.com.au is the best place to start for more information about rock tape. The videos that we said before are listed there with different applications that you can look at. The course dates are all listed on the website as well. And of course these days you have to be a social media presence as well. So Rock Tape Australia is our main tag, I guess, for Facebook and for Instagram, so you can find out more information with posts that are put up on the social media as well.
I can remember John Shuckey. I, in fact, remember John Shuckey because he sat right there beside me at the last conference that we were down, I think, in Tasmania. Enigmatic, exciting, vibrant, talks about fascia. He's a clinical anatomist. He's been doing dissections of the cadavers for years and years now. And his initiative and his knowledge is amazing. And like, you know, if you were wondering about whether you wanted to come and listen to him, then I urge you, that's the place you want to be. Peter Brockner, I think, was one of my idols even though I've never met him, but when I went through my diploma in remedial massage, the text Clinical Sports Medicine with Bruckner and McCann was one of those books that I just couldn't put down. And at that stage, I remember going to the gym a lot, and people would be running on treadmills with music in their ears, and I'd be powering on that treadmill, flicking pages of his books. He'll be talking at the conference again, a keynote, but I think he's also going to be up on stage discussing case study by case study, and that will be really interesting.
So if I can just show one that's a common need for therapists. So I've grabbed our eagles, but you could use a golf ball, put in a sock, something like that. The intent is for you to take the work off your body and put it onto the tool. So if we place for a start, our arm into the crook of our hip, place the ball on the just below our elbow, and we're aiming to do small little rolls with the work coming from our hip. So rather than the work coming from our elbows or our arm, we want the load, our weight of our body to roll into our wrist. That feels lovely. Yep. So as you'd know for yourself with other clients, it's not necessarily going to just be one line and one muscle that's creating the pain. So do a few lines across the whole of your forearm just to see if you can find the enjoyable parts. Yep, relaxing the wrist. If you do find something, you can actually increase the load. Great.
Hey guys, my name's Elicia. I'm a business coach for massage therapists and the owner of Massage Champions. I love to help therapists become fully booked without getting burned out and turn their passion into a rocking business. What we're going to be talking about today is the difference between subcontractors and employees, because this is a big topic in the industry at the moment based on what the ATO is doing, and there's lots of talk on social media, lots of talk through the associations as to what is actually going on and how do we navigate this so that we're actually walking with authenticity and following the legal process of what should be happening. So I was specifically talking to clinic owners in this tip today, because it's the clinic owners who are responsible for the contracts that are drawn up in their clinic. Now, there are three ways that you can have people working in your facility. You can have them as a tenant where they're fully responsible for their own business and they literally just rent a room. You can have them as a contractor, which is kind of that grey shaded area that people are talking about, or you can have them as an employee. What I tend to find is a lot of people, when a clinic owner is looking for someone, they want to find the easiest, safest path. So there's this perception that if I have just a contractor on, it doesn't really matter if I don't understand it. I'm not responsible for paying them every week. It's only if they get paid. So therefore, I'll do that. The problem with that kind of attitude, or problem with doing that, is that there's too many grey shaded areas, and there's a potential for the actual contract to be deemed what's called a sham contract, if there's even a written contract at all. So one of the things that we really talk about with our clients at Massage Champions is either having a tenant who is running their own business from your clinic, or having an employee. Now, often one of the objections we hear is that if I have an employee, I'll have to pay them even if they don't have clients. Now, while that's true to an extent, you can legally have a permanent casual employee under the award who is actually making around $27 to $33 an hour. And yes, they will get paid if their clients don't show. However, you have so much more transparency and so much more control and influence over the situation when you're actually employing them. You have a bunch of legal obligations that you have to obviously follow, but if you're willing to step into what we call the path of most resistance, if you're willing to learn about HR and create that as a system, it makes that onboarding process so much easier. And in the long run, when the therapist decides to leave due to whatever reason, it's going to be so much easier for everybody because we know what's actually expected of us. Because as a subcontractor, it's kind of like, well, who owns the clients, and who's responsible for marketing, and do you have to wear a uniform, and do you have to be there when all of these questions are completely black and white when we have an employment agreement, because it's usually the therapist the clinic owner is actually getting the clients in. It is the therapist's responsibility to rebook and build their appointment book. The clinic owner usually needs to provide uniforms and will provide everything necessary for the therapist to come in and actually work. So there's just some tips that we recommend. You can go to the ATO website and check out the contractor versus employee tool to have a look if you currently have contractors and actually weigh them up to see if they are deemed black and white contractors or if they're actually employees and maybe should be moved to an employee contract.